for those that want to be good at HvV. I'm going to explain about every hero and villain, the cards that you should use that's going to help you tremendously in fighting against players, especially players that are really good. I've had experience with all these heroes and villains, and so I'm just gonna start explaining what type of cards you should use when it comes to HvV and also GA. So first, obviously, we start with the boba. Now, if you ever like being a boba, you gotta be very vigilant um, with your abilities. Obviously, we all know that boba can be annoying. If you really know how to use a boba, he can actually cause some pretty significant damage against a Luke, um, any hero, basically, because of his jetpack. And the abilities that I suggest that you use is one, if you got a Finn, or a Lando, or a Han, you gotta disable that blaster. Because if you don't disable their blasters, that gives them a 50-50 chance of hitting you. You're allowing Finn to have Deadeye on you. So, obviously this is a no-brainer card. In HvV, even in GA, I would recommend having a blaster disabler. Okay? Um, Fuel efficiency, it allows you to fly around a lot longer, makes you last longer in the air. Um, the longer you last in the air, the better it is for you to escape your enemies. And I like to use my middle ability. If I run out of jetpack fuel, I'll just use my middle ability and it'll allow me to keep flying. Um, so if you just waste your jetpack by holding down, I believe it's L2, right? And you're just flying. Once that fuel is gone, it's gone. So you use that middle ability and it'll allow you to fly for a little bit longer till the duration of the exposure is gone. So um, exposure is really good for GA, but I'll explain that later. Now, the big one is you want like a really nice damage on the heroes and villains. So I would suggest like having multiple rockets to blast at them. The more rockets you blast at them, the more damage that's gonna put. And if you get dead on hits, that's gonna take a hero to half health if he is at full. Um, it's definitely destroyed a Yoda. It really helps you take out those gun heroes very quick. So you got to be very, very vigilant. You can't just be like standing around like how you see some bobas just standing around on the higher altitude, just blasting away. You got to be getting in there and actually start fighting them. Um, so here's some abilities that are important for GA, and I would suggest having the blaster disabler, right? That's a given. Um, Fuel efficiency, just in case you do get into a nasty situation. Um, I mean, death from above, that's also can be pretty useful. Um, if you are rocket based, if you like to use your rockets quite a lot, which I highly recommend that you do use death from above and the sensory array. Yeah, it's nice to have it for a little bit longer duration, but if you have fuel efficiency and you use that middle ability, it'll allow you to fill up your fuel a lot faster. So I wouldn't really be too concerned about it, although it's nice to see where your enemies are. Sometimes it can reveal your enemies through the map, through walls, stuff like that. But Death from Above is definitely good to use. And that's a boba for you. Um, Bosk, everybody has hit their ups and downs. Recently they finally fixed Bosk, and obviously everybody knows that Bosk is really, really good for um, GA and capital supremacy because of his gas grenade, his his grenade launcher, you know. Um, so that is really, really nice to have. Um, I don't really like to use like I like to have a longer duration, you know, and I like how it spreads, you know, the smoke, 'cause the gas basically. And this gas is like it's very deadly on GA. On HvV it's different, you know. HvV, yeah, it's nice to have that gas grenade, but I would not use it for HvV. I would suggest that you use the Unrelenting Predator. And the reason why is when you use the Unrelenting Predator, it allows you to hit your enemies with those grenade launchers, a grenade launcher, and it helps impact like a great deal of damage. Um, but also like if you're really, really like wanting to get into people's faces, um, you should use the Predator Resilience. That way, when you're trying to bomb Han Solo or something like that, or like a Luke, you know, and you're just getting shot or you got force pushed, you'll receive a lot less damage that way. You know, you don't want to be a Bosk just bombing away and then just like suddenly lose your health within seconds. That is reckless of a Bosk, and if you don't know how to use a Bosk like that, it's a great way to learn, but you don't want to just go in there and expect to win a fight with a Saber hero or a freaking Han Solo that has your head basically a painted. You're basically a big painted target without this card. So this is really good for HvV. Um, Multiple traps. You know, I like to be very tactical, right? I like to be fast, you know, and these bombs have been my saving grace every time. I like to maneuver. I like to roll. I like to use the regular grenade launcher. You know, I like to depend on my mines to get the job done. You know, yeah, I use a little bit of the Dioxis. Yeah, the duration is nice and all, but overall, if you really want to kill your enemies fast and just like take out like maybe one or a couple of your enemies, hopefully uh, these enemies in HvV have a little bit medium or low health. That way, when you use your traps, right? You know, it's very important for your traps to go off like super quick, right? You need to have them go off, and you need like multiple of these traps. So that's why I say, you know, it's nice to have extra traps, because that's going to be your saving grace. And I use Dioxis for trying to finish the enemy off, if I can. Um, let's see. There was this. Okay, so This card is if you really need to heal, which um, some people like to heal like really quick when you're into people's faces, with the predator resilience and stuff and the unrelenting. Sometimes you need that healing card, so I would suggest having a little bit of healing. But normally speaking, Bosk regenerates his health to the max all the time, so um, depending how your current situation, you gotta really be vigilant with the Bosk. And then we all know that he has a sniper rifle. If you want really good accuracy with Bosk, um, this is the card to unlock. This is for GA. It'll be very useful to use. But with me, I notice that whenever I shoot my enemy, and yes, I have them dead on in the circle, I notice that it'll go to the left a little bit. So I transfer the little dot within the circle just a smidge bit over to the right face of the faceplate. That way it'll hit them either in the head, which should be an insta kill on all your enemies in GA. Um, Unless they're like commandos, then obviously it takes a lot more extra oomph. But I would highly suggest you wait till, your sniper rifle charges fully. You just don't want to just suddenly blast away because you're gonna miss then. The likelihood of you missing is gonna be substantially increased if you don't let it fully charge to shoot at the enemy. But if they're rushing you up close, sometimes I don't even scope in, I just blast away. And sometimes a hip, it's called hip fire. If you get that hip fire down, it usually is your saving grace. So, yeah, I've used hip fire quite a lot on soldiers, and it's saved me plenty of times. That's if you drain your grenade launcher. Let's see. Chewie, this is a walking carpet. He's super slow, but his damage does make up for it. Um, so with Chewie, it's nice to have a max health if you're ever in GA, right? I like to freaking have max health, and then I would like to, come crushing my enemies with a bash, just like slam down on them. Sometimes when you slam down on them, you get that extra health back, you know? That was one of the old cards that we used to have back in the day. But now it's I like to use for GA just basically the bowcaster. I like the that's significantly high in damage is the roaring. You really need that to help you out. Um, Furious resilience is really nice to have because if you combine furious resilience with your echo roaring, the likelihood of you dying in GA is a lot slimmer than greater. You have a better opportunity of taking hits, but while you're blasting your enemies to shreds. Uh, and then what I usually do is use shock vulnerability. If there's a villain coming straight at me in GA, I need that shock vulnerability. It'll melt their health. Um, that way you can just like keep moving forward. You don't want to just like deal with one villain being on you all the time. Because Chewie, let's be honest, he can't roll for diddly squat, basically. Yeah, maybe you can get away with a couple rolls. It depends how often you use Chewie, though. His rolls is a 3-second time frame for him to get into the roll. 3 seconds, right? So that's an easy opportunity for villains to hit Chewie. Um, when it comes to HvV, I like to use Echo Roar because of the duration and how it presents extra damage with extended shock. So, yeah, you know, I need that duration. I want them to be like just stuck there. If it's a Vader, I want to melt that guy's health so fast to where he can't get it. And I aim for the head. Now, what I do to aim for his head is I hold down the L2 button and then I just go ham at him. Like as soon as I hit him. And then the shock vulnerability helps me significantly with the echo roaring. I haven't had any issues melting a Vader, um, killing a Palpatine. Um, Also, this echo roaring is really nice to use to counter a Boba Fett to just knock him out of the sky. Yeah, you won't be able to kill him all that easily, but it does prevent him from having the opportunity to shoot rockets at you if you can avoid the inevitable. But my way of comboing my enemies is using the Echo Roar with shock vulnerability, and then I'll just go in with a ground slam if I don't present enough damage. Hopefully, they don't disable my ability while I'm charging to hit them for the final blow. Hopefully not, but if it does happen, then it could be a mess because Chewie has a struggle getting out of it. Um, let's see. So that's Chewie for you. Um, Darth Vader. Oh my God, this guy is like a walking nightmare. When it comes to your enemies, you will literally destroy your enemies. Because Vader is based off being slow. However, there is ways to make him faster. I'll explain it in a different video about that, but I'll show you the presentation of all the heroes and villains, their abilities, on how to counter people. But for now, uh, Vader, it's nice to have Furious Resilience. Oh my God, that thing it's my saving grace every time, because I always use his focused rage. Let's see. I always love using his fueling rage because that extends the ability of the Furious Resilience. Because when you extend that, that's gonna be harder to break Vader's stamina, and when Vader's just like blocking and then he parries, oh my gosh, the draining of the stamina is like nothing. Like Vader's stamina will not go down. That's why I consider Surrounded Fear a useless card when you have Furious Resilience and also fueling the rage. And then obviously, I like to be tankish, so I'm gonna have that extra health in there. Um, it depends how good you are with Vader. I don't really depend on DPS all that much. But if you really need that extra damage, because maybe you're learning about Vader, I would suggest using Intensified Lightsaber Throw, but I usually just go for the regular throw. No escape, that's useless, that's only for like, if you really want to kill a bunch of GA people, soldiers, that would be nice to have. Um, choking for a long time, the punishing grip, that's good for like if you want to choke people and like drag them across the edge of like Bespin or something to drop them off, or but usually with me when I choke people, it's just like I just drop them easily. over the cliff, or like I just like pick them up, choke them, give them a little damage, then I throw my lightsaber. Usually it just hits them in the front, and sometimes it can kill them from behind. So that's a double combo. And sometimes if I know an enemy and I have fuel rage and I just choked them, I'll just throw my lightsaber and then I dash forward. When I dash forward, I do a quick saber swipe and I slash them while they're hitting the ground. When they're getting hit on the ground, that's it. Their health is gonna be totaled by the end of that. Um, so the deal with Vader is deflection stamina. That's a GA card. Um, I never really had to use it because I like to dash. I like to make Vader move really quickly. But for those that want to learn how to save your stamina when it comes to Galactic Assault, I would suggest the deflection stamina. Um, last gasp, I don't see any use of this card whatsoever. I completely consider this one pointless, only because, yeah, okay, you choke like 2 or 3 heroes at the same time, but it's not really that huge of a significance in damage. What I say what recovers for this card is, you just throw your lightsaber and finish them off that way. But um you don't need this in GA at all, because like usually just a choke on your opponents, that'll just finish them off real quick. It's just like one ability, doom, crack of the neck, and done. Um, Sidious. Now you want to be very mobile with Sidious. You don't want to be just sitting in one spot for a elongated period of time. He's really good for melting um, heroes with sabers against an Anakin to drain his stamina. But I would suggest if he pulls you, you dash as fast as you can the other direction. That way you don't get hit. Or if you do, and you're getting close to being hit, dash sideways and then dash forward. Yeah, it uses 2 of your abilities, but it saves you from getting hit. Palpatine usually has a 1.5 second time frame of getting up, which is actually pretty good for his age, but that guy can move. Lightning reach. This always gets people like to hate Palpatine because the lightning reach is consistent. It does high amount of damage, um, and the reason why it does high amount of damage is when you hold down L2 and R2 with the rule of 2, you're using Palpatine's both of his hands with that lightning reach. That's gonna drain that stamina so fast. And then you're just gonna melt your enemies. Like, I've taken out Han Solos, Landos, Finns. Finns are a little tricky. Landos can be somewhat tricky. It really depends. But I like to dash forward sometimes. I'll shock them on the ground, melt their health, and then I'll use the lightning chain to hopefully finish them off. And if not, I do the same thing over again to where I just try and keep moving. That way they don't get a lock on. But with a Finn, that Deadeye is going to be your biggest rival. Um, Lando Sharp Shot will hurt, but it will not kill you instantly. Um, so I like to use the obviously, I don't want Palpatine's stamina to go down. Hell no. I want his stamina to stay high up because the more lightning that you're using, the force of the lightning, the better chance of you melting their stamina, and then you're just leaving them completely vulnerable. Then you shock the ground. you hit them hard, with the lightning, and then you use the chain lightning. Goes right through their block, adds a little bit extra damage, and then you want to keep moving your character around. Um, Dark Aura is really nice to use while you're using all three of these cards, because with Dark Aura, it also causes an extra damage output on your enemies. So that's really nice to have. Um, but if you want to do Galactic Assault, I would suggest Amplified Aura with obviously Lightning Reach and the control of 2. Usually with his lightning shock ability, the one that this specific ability, it's really nice to have, um, and it should be able to one-shot enemies, if not take down most of their health. But I would suggest, you know, basically amplified aura with lightning reach and the um, the rule of 2, because stamina is nice to have and all, but you as a Palpatine, if you're getting shot up, stamina at that point doesn't really matter. It's all about you moving as fast as you can to kill your targets as quickly as you can. That way you just keep moving forward. Um, let's see. Other ones. This one used to be a powerful card, a very powerful card, because it used to slow down your enemies, especially heroes. Um, but now they changed the rules of Palpatine to where this card's virtually useless. Yeah, it's nice to have Dark Aura, and yeah, it creates a little bit of extra damage, but not really. You might as well just use the default Dark Aura, to be honest. So, anyways, these are the three I use for HvV: Lightning Reach, the Rule of 2, and Full Control. For GA, Lightning Reach, Amplified Aura with Rule of 2. Okay. So Han Solo, oh my gosh, freaking amazing with his blaster. The damage output is insane. His bomb is significantly important. I don't know about you, but when I throw my bomb, I want to see my villains hit the ground. That way, if I'm using Sharp Shot, I'm able to put in some extra damage, especially on Vaders. My gosh, those things are literally horrible for Han to kill. However, when I use my star cards, I like to use Airburst with the Smuggler's Wit, which gives me an extra dodge ability. 3 rolls is always better than 2, because, 2 can only do so much, but 3 can really get you out of harm's ways if you use it properly. And with Big Bang, that detonation is going to make your enemies fly, and with the Big Bang and the air burst, I throw it in the air. I hit Bobas out of the sky, and then I sharp shot them. Use that nice stay calm sharpshooter. I freaking just kill them real fast. Real fast. I haven't had a need to change any of my star cards at all in GA nor HvV. Um, I like to have my villains a little bit up close and personal, but some of you would like your villains a little bit more of a distance, but now you're allowing them to have a little bit better of an opportunity to block and then dash forward to you again. However, this broad shoulder is really nice to have, because, if if you're just like can't handle a Vader, right? And you're close to death and he's just holding up his block. You go in with that broad shoulder and you bash the crap out of him. You want to make sure he flies a little bit backwards. That way it allows you to creep in a couple of shots and just zoom in really quick and just blast him. Don't waste your time on a sharp shot because that's definitely going to allow him to get away. Um, let's see. Yeah, those are the 4-star cards I would just suggest. Um, Now you got Item Versio. She's a cancer within itself. Um, the best type of things if you really want to melt your enemies, um, and you want the job done quickly and efficiently. Um, yeah, it's nice to have max health. Um, Obviously. Um, Shock weakness, that really helps out a lot. And I like the shock reach. However, the shock reach is only, shocking them from a distance. And when you're shooting them, sometimes you can get critical shots on their heads. But when they're really up close to your face and you have that droid, you blast them as hard as you can with just the regular weapon. And that's why I say cooled blaster is going to be significantly an important card because you're going to melt Luke's, you're going to melt Obi-Wan's, people like that, but you have to really be careful with your card abilities here because they can change over time. Um, so people with GA, sometimes they like to just not have Iden too vulnerable at a time. So it's nice to have a pulse cannon. Um, I've seen people in GA with the the sturdy shield with also the shock reach. And the reason why is, you want to stun as many enemies as possible. Use secondary fire to finish them as fast as possible. Um, let's see. So that's item for you. Kylo, Kylo is very cool to use. He has very unique abilities. But I like Kylo to have damage more so than um, stamina. And the reason why I say more damage output for um, than stamina is because when you use that Furious Rage or that Furious Charge, Bloodlust ability, um, it allows you to build up your stamina super quick. So I don't really see the issue with that. Sometimes you need extra damage output, so some people need need this ability over here. Let's see. Oh, the closing in is huge for GA, for HvV. It's huge, especially if someone's trying to run away from you, or you're going up against soldiers and you just want to get in there and knock them down. Um, and I would suggest total control for GA, because you don't want to just like freeze just like barely a couple and then you allow yourself to be wide open for attacks. So I suggest just having a longer duration of freeze and freeze as many targets as possible. That way you can just finish them off with the furious rage or the bloodlust. Sorry, it's been a long day, a little bit. Um, let's see. Harsh Pole is kind of nice. I know in the arcade mode it one-shots people. In the arcade, though. In GA, I haven't really seen it cause people to die. Just by the harsh pull, but if you do have heroes, on their last leg and they're trying to get away and you do that force pull could actually just kill the enemy while they're jumping away, running away. It can just kill them due to the harsh pull alone. Um, I always like power reach. The farther that I can grab my enemy, the closer I bring them to me to just try and kill them as fast as I can. Okay. And then we got Lando Calrissian. Lando's, you gotta be very selective with the move sets that you use. Sharp Shot is definitely huge. Um, I like the wide eye, to be honest with you, especially against the BB9. Because when you got a BB9 that's thinking, oh, I'm safe, I'm getting away, you use that sharp shot on him. Boom, he's dead. This sharp shot alone with the BB9 at max health, if you hit him once with the sharp shot, it takes 3/4, yes, 3/4 of his health. That's significant. And then, if you're really good at aiming down the scopes, you gotta blast them as fast as you can. Um, like I said, I like quick shock, because the villains, they rush as fast as they can to kill your gun hero. What do you have to defend yourself? Just a shock grenade. So why not just have it activate really quick? That way they don't have the chance to swing at you. It allows you to actually do the opposite, to where you can take on a Vader and shoot him directly in the head and cause critical damage that way. It's huge. It really, really helps out. Boba Fett's, I hate them as much as the other guy, but at the end of the day, Lando's sharp shot with this wide eye card could really hurt the Boba in midair. So that's something to really consider if you ever are a Lando user. Disabler growth is like, it's nice to have the disabler with a elongated width. However, between my decision, yeah, my shock grenade isn't gonna be as big, but it's still gonna be efficient. But with this one's really, really good with GA. I would combine disabler growth with wide eye, right? And um, maxed. Uh, wait, is it maxed? Oh, sorry, no. Bulk up, baby. That way, the damage output that you give them is gonna freaking hurt. It would hurt them. And then, you can always have a nice health card, um, to maximize the health that Yolando has, because I believe he only has just a 600 without this health card, so it's pretty low. It's a standard Han Solo health. Smoke grenades can be useful for GA. Um, The smoke grenades um, disorients Boba from seeing you unless he uses his middle ability, then kind of defeats the purpose of the smoke grenade. But the smoke grenade is really good for GA to hide yourself and try and sharpshoot them while you're hiding in the smoke grenade during the duration of its time. That way, you can kill a lot of soldiers real quick. Um, but yes, these are the three cards that I like to use. But if I get a boba, sometimes I just go back to the menus when I die, and I'll just pull out a wide eye, and I'll try and finish him off that way. My throat is hurting from talking a lot. Okay, Leia, she's very important to use. When it comes to Leia, you know, she's obviously supposed to be a huge supporter. I hear that they're getting rid of the flash grenade because that flash grenade was useless for Leia. Yeah, maybe if you hit a Vader in the eyes and like with the flash grenade and the screen just gets bright enough, it allows your Leia to at least not get hit because you know the villain's blinded, your enemy is blinded. But still, even when I was shocked, I flashed. I just dash sometimes right through the flash, and basically she just wasted her own flash for nothing. So what I like to have is obviously I need more um, people um, to cause um, more help in GA because you know Leia can. She's obviously a leader. She needs team support. So the more people that you have to help you out, this stay together will be significantly important for HvV and also GA. Everybody knows the E11 is a nasty weapon if you allow it to be. I've definitely taken out Vaders with the E11 um, with Leia, and all I just have to do is just use my Alt 2 button, the L2 button, and blast like a sharp shot at him, and that'll also cause quite a big damage. Um, let's see. Explained that. Explained that. The shield I don't find any sort of use for, to be honest with you, but it's good to protect you from aerial attacks. Okay, so that's Leia. That was pretty quick. Now Luke. Luke can be the most sweatiest enemy that you could come across, or the best Jedi that you have. He's fast, he's nimble, he can dash through enemies' hits. He can be quite a nuisance. Um, but the best cards for him that I like to do is it was originally Intensify. That Intensify can make a whole game changer to where, you know, you do significant damage against your enemies. So you gotta be on top of your game when it comes to Intensify. And you know, a lot of case scenarios, you know, you can't always depend on people being there for you all the time, and you have to learn when's the best time to get through your enemies, and when's the best time to attack, when's the best time to try and get away, and when's the best time just to hold your block up. But I suggest Rush Immunity. That's really nice. It definitely hurts item Versio with the amount of damage that she can do when you use that rush immunity. And, now I got 3 rush immunities just by Jedi Reflex. So, yeah, I use Jedi Reflex and I just dash through them 3 times. Plus, it's just like with a regular roll, like a regular dash, you get 3 of those instead of just 2. Obviously, since the game has been broken, I use the Jedi Fighter, and it can do a lot of help. It can cause quite a lot of miracles, especially against a Palpatine. He won't be able to drain your stamina enough when you dash forward towards him, and you throw him, you hit him, and just whack him silly. But in GA, I would suggest Deflection Mastery, because Deflection Mastery can really help you with your damage output. And with, I would say the best way would be Epicenter. That way, when your enemies are close, you just hit the ground. So, the way I combo villains and also um, in GA, I use the rush ability, then I use epicenter, and then I quickly turn around. And if I see them just hit the ground, just barely hit the ground, that's when I push the force button, and it's a double the amount of the damage right there in a nutshell. And you could just throw them off the edge. It's either way, it hurts them. Um, Stronger push is meant for ledging. If you want to ledge your enemies, I would suggest, if you really are determined about ledging your enemies, use stronger push with extended push. And you would have to get rid of the... I usually just get rid of the Jedi reflexes. That way I always have my rush immunity. Immunity helps your health stay high up. Okay, let's see. Now we got Darth Maul. Darth Maul, you gotta be super fast. I like being fast with Darth Maul. I just have these cards equipped because, obviously I was on Kessel and I wanted to ledge quite a few people, so I used these 2 cards for HvV. That's also good for Kashyyyk. Um, you know, the greatest enemy Maul could have is Han, the ability to shoulder bash you. So what is the best type of cards to have? Well, obviously, you can't really give this card up. It helps you deflect the blasters, less less stamina being wasted. And yeah, maybe you do get hit, but it's a lot less damage than usual amount of damage versus when you don't have this card activated. Um, I don't really find a use for any of those, but I like these cards here. Flow motion, that's gonna make my Maul move real quick. The, oh shit. Um, Not efficient enough. Hopefully this broadcast is still active. Give me a second. I just got a notification saying uh, internet or something, so I'm just gonna look at my video right now. Hopefully it's up and running still. Let's see here. I'll just type in Decilist into the... Okay, yeah, so it looks like it's still live. Um, Let me see, I'm just gonna move my card really quick, see if it's still going. Okay, yeah, okay. So, okay, thank you for waiting for just a second. Um, So yeah, I like to use Savage, and these cards make my mall move so fast. Like, what I like to do is, if I want to get somewhere, I'll use his freaking his flow motion. You know, that ability to where he charges fast, and then I dash, and then I do the flow motion again, then I dash, and then flow motion again. I'm already maybe halfway across the map versus the rest of my squad um, for HvV, but it really can save you against gun heroes. Gun heroes will struggle tremendously, especially a Han. A Chewie would struggle tremendously to shoot you if you're able to do the dash really quick, use flow motion, plus that's damaging them, so the more damage, the likelihood of you killing them. So, when I do choke them, I try and jump in midair and freaking throw my saber to hit them. That way it's a little bit extra damage. It's kind of weird, but when you jump in the air and you throw your saber, it allows you to hit them from the front and back, so it's double damage. But yeah, these are the cards that I would use when it comes to GA and when it comes to HvV. I love these three cards. Um, Legend, again, yeah, it has its benefits, but you really take out these benefits here, and now you're not as nimble and you're not as fast, so the likelihood of you draining your stamina quite more is very high. And Maul doesn't have the best stamina either. Okay. Um, Ray, she's not many people know how to use her. I'll be honest with you, I struggle sometimes to understand what the hell am I supposed to do with this woman. Um, she used to be good. I used to be really, really, really good with her. Um, but what I use is, I like to use the insight, you know. Um, that way I can help my team see where my enemies are in GA. Um, Mind trick. If you can trick your enemies, that's gonna be real good, especially against blasters. Um, People that are villains like Item Versio or Phasma, they can't turn their cursor or anything, so this is when Opportunist comes in. Also, lightsaber heroes and lightsaber villains, sorry, they can't move their cursor to the left or right. So, Opportunist allows you to deal a lot more extra damage, and every little damage helps. So, if you can dash right on through them and hit them while their back is turned, this Opportunist causes them to flinch as well. So, as they're flinching, that allows you to put in even more damage on them. Um, And then Street Fighter. Street Fighter is really important to have um, in HvV and GA. Obviously, I don't have it unlocked, but this card is huge, 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 huge. Because if you can really uh, know how to capitalize on Opportunist with the far sight, then all you need is just stamina and you'll melt your enemies really quick. Um, Damaging strike used to be freaking overpowered back in the day, but it's no longer really all that important. Um, That's useless. If you need an extra dodge ability, balance is a good way. It allows you to evade attacks, but usually with Rays, all of them uses the mind trick, so two dashes should be fair enough, but I like to have three, apparently a long time ago. And that's it for Ray, honestly. Nothing really too special. Yoda. Yoda is unique. He used to be really good. Um, Now it's all about using your block, dashing through your enemies, trying to hit them through the back. But you really, really need to be very cautious with Yoda because now his stamina drains really quickly. Um, it's really nice to have agility that allows you three agilities. That means you get three chances to hit your enemy, like let's say Darth Maul, for example. He's putting his block up. You use that dash attack, that agility attack, and you can hit Darth Maul three times through his ability. So it's really important to use to capitalize on it. And Yoda always needs opposing the dark side. Um, and the reason why I say that is because it's just going to take down your villains so much faster. And now in um, GA these days, if they ever see a Yoda, which sometimes Yodas are there, the villains just purely go after him because they want to capitalize on the poor programming for Yoda. It used to be really good, but now the programming for Yoda is kind of lacked significantly. But so when it comes to, you know, people, um, in HvV, it's nice to have the feel of the Force, active, because this allows you to obviously give as much health as you want. The duration, yeah, it may not last as long, but if you really, really just want to be a support character for HvV or just for um, GA, these two cards I suggest you use, and then an agility card. Earned it. Now this is huge for GA as well, because this GA card, if they blast you, and you're using that block, that increases the force push radius. And, once Yoda is fully charged and you use that force push, you'll kill all the soldiers that are within the radius, as long as they don't roll through it, and as long as they're not commandos or something like that, commando droids or whatever. But this is also a really important card to have if you just want to focus on soldiers. Um, so it really depends on you, how you want to proceed, either in GA or HvV when it comes to Yoda. Um, we got a Finn. Finn, bless this person's abilities. Um, the amount of protection that he provides for his troops, and even for the even for heroes, it's significant. I have seen a Finn use, I believe it's this, uh, I believe it's this card Yeah, okay, okay, yeah, it's this card. And this damage reduction, oh my gosh, your heroes is not gonna die. You know, if you have Anakin, Luke, and all that, whatever, they're not gonna die all that easily. Because now you got Finn there to support them with this health booster, number one, and damage reduction, number two. So there's two in one there that can be really, really important, and it can also change a tide of a battle in HvV. Finn is really great when it comes to countering Boba Fett. Um, you can also use him to counter um, Palpatine. Palpatine's a nightmare to fight, but if you can really get the dead eye on him, oh my gosh, he's gonna be in a world of hurt. Um, and I like the Deadeye to stay as active as possible, so I use this in GA. This is a GA card right here, along with the Deadeye. And if you really want to have like capital supremacy, I would use this card as well. Um, Now, if you're worried about Finn's ability to damage your enemies, right, fast, then I would suggest you use this ability right here. That I can do this. It allows him to have his little um, blaster out. Um, Not the E11, but the other one. Um, is it this one? Or is it this one? Okay, no. Yeah, it's this one. So if you have this, it increases the amount of time, but also this blaster it's a rapid fire weapon, and it's meant to hurt people really quick. Sometimes it can be your saving grace when you got a Vader that just suddenly loses his stamina and you want to use that. I would suggest using that ability, aim for the head as fast as you can, try and melt his health, and hopefully you get to kill him. Um, but Finn also, it's really important when you're going up against a BB9 unit. Yes, a BB9. He will disable your primary E11 ability, but if you activate Sharpshooter, right, Sharpshooter, this ability right here, that droid is just gonna be spinning, and then all you have to do is just blast that droid, and that droid's gonna be like saying, "What the heck? How come he's able to still kill me? I disabled his weapon." No, sharpshooter usually, I've seen it happen quite a few times in CS to where, I disabled his E11. I know for a fact I see that thing disabled. However, he uses his sharp shot and boom, my health goes down significantly. And sometimes it's difficult for Finn to finish the job, especially in capital supremacy, if he's not able to chase you down a little bit. Because the droid is it's just so fast. That BB9's fast. It's a nightmare to fight. Um, Captain Phasma really, really is really a nuisance. I call her Phagma because, I don't like her. And the reason being is, like, her turret is, like, it's for cheap kills, HvV, it's for cheap kills, but she's a great hero, a great villain, don't get me wrong. But the way that she has her sentry droid just stunning you all the time. It frustrates your opponents. And trust me, I've had people rage because of these abilities. But for me, I've always stuck with easy shots, with there's no escape, um, with not hard enough. And that not hard enough will give your Phasma such a big health booster. And plus, that health booster, if you have that not hard enough, it reduces half of the amount of damage. Half the amount of damage that you usually would receive. But it only lasts for like only a uh, short period of time. Safety first is really nice to have. I would use that in GA more so. Um, but hard enough is definitely something that can replace safety first. Because, you're just adding a little bit more health, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's just blasters hitting you, so you're still getting that same amount of damage, and now you're just sponging just a slight bit more damage than what you should be. Um, so, I like to have her blaster obviously not overheat. This thing is freaking important. The more kills you get, the less it overheats, and the more you get to blast your enemies to shreds. And I always aim for the heads. Um, Sometimes hip fires can hit them in the heads. You don't always have to aim directly down the scope. Even though she has infrared scoping, to where you can see your enemies with night vision and stuff, it still isn't necessary to always aim for their heads just through the scope. Her blaster itself is so accurate to where, if you're stunned your enemy, you just aim for the head with hip fire. It'll be dead on. It'll just kill her. Kill the enemies. Um, and then this one, shock. The increased duration of the shock is so important. You know, the longer you get to shock your enemies, the better chance you have of freaking surviving this. And usually Phasmas, you're not supposed to walk away from that sentry. You want that's your lifeline right there. Um, if you walk away from this sentry and you think it's okay, then I suggest you think differently because if you don't know the situation and anybody could easily take out a Phasma. Um, Her staff ability, yeah, can save her maybe in a blue moon, but I wouldn't use that staff ability. But that staff ability back in the day used to be very, very helpful when it comes to damaging, but you have to hit them 3 times in order to get that increase of 50 damage, and it's kind of like no, just no. I would not use it. It gives her the first 2 attacks is lunge attack, and then the third one, she just doesn't lunge at all, and it's like it's stupid. It's stupid. But I remember how this used to take quite a lot of health from your enemies, and when they hit the ground, because you knock them up, they go flying, they hit the ground, and you keep blasting them, you can kill them that way. Enough about Phasma. General Grievous. Now this guy, he's high in damage. You need to just damage the schmuckaroos out of your enemies. Because, the more damage that you do, the quicker you get rid of them. And so, Grievous does have a Cloud Rush ability, and this Cloud Rush ability breaks stamina of Yoda's stamina. I've seen that happen. to where Yoda has no stamina to block at all. It's just weird how that happens. Compared to other heroes, it doesn't break their stamina. It's just weird, a weird function with Yoda and Grievous. But usually Grievous will knock those heroes on their asses, right? And if you do the R1 just right, you can actually do double the amount of damage if you stand up on them. If you stand up on them, or even just a little bit, just a smidge bit past them, that's double the amount of damage. Sometimes it can be triple the amount of damage. That's because EA doesn't know how to produce their game properly. So there you go. There's something to to use. Um, Grievous definitely, needs a health card. There's just no way around that. I just say, yeah, just freaking get that health card up as fast as possible. Sith trained, I like to swing my sabers. You know, this one, yes, it's nice. Yes, it's nice because this one really breaks Jedi's stamina. But it's so crucial to use it at the right moment. And a lot of times, even I don't use it at the right moment. All they have to do is just dash right through me, and uh-oh, my back is exposed. Blaster heroes go ham, or Jedi hit me in the back. Like, as soon as I try and turn, all they have to do is dash the other way and then hit me again, and it's like, great. Then it's just great. So, um, it's important. Um, ooh, deadly slashes inflicts more in unrelenting advance. That's still, no. No, never mind that. That's still the same crap. I wouldn't. If you really are good with Grievous and you know how to time these, then yeah, these are really good. But in order to deflect blaster bolts, people from shooting you, use this ability, obviously, um, and keep advancing forward. Um, a Han, I just uh, took out a Han really quick. Um, he was aiming for me, right? So what I did was I used um, that thrust, that thrust ability. So first I used the thrust ability. I hit him, and then he hits the ground. And then I rush as fast as I can. I dash towards him, try and swing my sabers. And when I see him get up, usually they try and use the shoulder bash. So I dodge to the side, but if I get hit, yeah, I got hit. Nothing I can do about that. However, the likelihood of them just like turning around or trying to throw a bomb at you to cause extra damage is a little bit lower than you having the ability to use this claw rush ability. This will knock them on their ass, and you can then go ham again um, on their on their health. You can take them out pretty quick. Okay, so every 10%. Okay, so when it comes to GA, I like to line up weaklings either way. Um, this damage reduction is huge. Um, but the thing is that if you use this card, it usually shouldn't be able to one-shot um, clone troopers, if I'm not mistaken. However, this thing is freaking. It's the embodiment of Grievous when it comes to a GA or a CS battle, because if you use that Cloud Rush and hit multiple enemies, then there you go. They're gonna be dead. Um, so instead of having the abilities of Sith Trained, I would replace Sith Train with Cowardly Retreat, Claw Rush, um, line up Flesh Weaklings, line up Weaklings basically. Um, and then I would use Beating Heart because, I need that health. I don't know about you, but I need health. Um, if you're going up against a hero, this would have been a really nice card to have, but if you don't have it activated, then this is all you got. So you pick your poison. I usually see Grievous's run away in a fight. A lot of people usually see Grievous's run away from a fight. Me, I don't run away from the fight. Um, I use very tactical attacks. That way, I'm always knocking them one way or the other and trying to parry, damage, back off, parry, damage, back off, and then use the claw rush, thrust surge, whatever I need to do to kill that that hero. That's what I do. Obi-Wan Kenobi, his freaking stamina is insane. I don't care what anyone says, but his stamina is it's beyond comprehension. I would say the perfect if you really want to just parry people, I would use perfect defense with safeguard, right? That means it takes a huge chunk of stamina to where it saves just a huge chunk of your stamina just standing there blocking with safeguard. This is your freaking holy protector. It's your safeguard and your perfect defense. If you get both of these cards on, all you need is, your health regen, or if you're just worried about damaging your enemies, then maybe you don't want this safeguard. Maybe you want to replace it with forward, because this forward will one-shot troopers in GA. But for HvV purposes, I suggest using Jedi Resilience with the perfect defense and safeguard. His force push, okay, cool, you can charge up, throw them a little bit further, but, throwing them farther isn't always the solution. You just want to be quick with your throw, knock them on their ass, try and hit them if you can, or throw them off the edge. Maybe Give It All can help you out with throwing them off the edge. But any case of scenario, I wouldn't worry about it. Think It Over disables your enemy's, your villain's abilities. Um, Sometimes it glitches to where it doesn't stop them from using their abilities. So Think It Over, yeah, it's cool to have this card, but beforehand, before all these updates, you never used to be able to dash when Obi-Wan used his mind trick. Now you can dash. It's a lot more difficult. Now Obi-Wan's based off of maybe trying to dash through your enemy, hit them in the back once or twice, back off, and then try and use defense, parry them if you can, and then, do the same process over again. But I would suggest just these four cards overall as a HvV and GA. And this one's not really anything too special. Longer range, he already has quite a big range, so that's no point. Um, Deflect and do more damage. With Obi-Wan, if you like swinging your saber and you like to be quick. Because with Obi-Wan on GA, you have to be quick, or a or even in Capital Supremacy, you gotta be just quick with the droids. Don't just like screw around and wait for them to suddenly roll. You just want to be block, block, hit. You know, block, dash, hit. Something like that. That way you just get them done and over with and move on. Force throw, also, if you hold it long enough for an extended amount of time, it'll just one shot those troopers. And then when it comes to Count Dooku, okay, so if you really, really just want to depend on his lightsaber, right? And you just want to use his duelists, you need finesse with masterful duelists. It'll melt the health out of your enemies so fast. Um, that masterful duelist is pretty powerful cards, these two cards alone. But me, I like to have my other ability work. That lightning alone without the blind spot is just such a short range, and your enemy is already up in your face, already hitting you, and you can't just suddenly use your lightning to suddenly hit them and let them hit the floor. So I use blind spot. They hit the floor, I swoop in with already my duelist activated, my finesse activated. I just whack them. Boom, boom, boom. It's already causing quite enough damage in my eyes to freaking take out your enemies. And then the great thing about Dooku is you can parry. You can parry till you go blue when you have his middle ability activated. So, that ability alone is so powerful. And obviously, you need Dooku to survive. The guy is a lightweight when it comes to damage. Like, it doesn't take much damage to kill the Dooku, so if you have Sith control with health regen, you're gonna annoy the crap out of the Jedi. Jedi heroes, um, gunslingers, Han Solo's. Now, the thing about Han Solo is, um, he's a quite deadly against Dooku, um, especially if he uses his rapid fire ability. I suggest when you're blocking, you try and get as close as you can. Hopefully, he um, he doesn't just suddenly shoot you in the face. But that's why I use my blind spot, people. Gives me a longer range, gives me a higher chance to knock him off his ass and go in for the fucking kill and just knock him out. So that's Dooku in a nutshell. This critical can be very crucial. If you hit them in the back, really melts their health. You can sometimes, I think, 3 shots with a saber, they're done. 3 or 4, I don't know. I think it's 3. And then we got Anakin. He's an interesting character. His swings are slow. That's the thing about Anakin. He can hit you, and when he hits you, it hurts. But it takes 3 whole seconds to do a damn swing. Like, he has to do that whole animation. Everybody and their brother can see him when he's about to swing, and it's just like, yeah, it's nice to see the animation part of it, but if you really want to damage people, Anakin's just like a little slow. That's why he calls himself a freaking slow learner, but the damage that you give them replaces that. So I love Massive Strike. That shit hurts my enemies so hard, and the more kills you get, the more stamina you get. You see how it steamroll helps you? That way it prevents you from freaking losing tremendous amount of stamina here. Massive Strike, it varies. But even Anakin's stamina just alone with just blocking against an Emperor, you might as well say goodbye to your stamina. Um, unless you really spam his abilities, like you have to pull that Emperor or something. So that's why I use Attraction. That Emperor, he's just gonna go spinning somewhere else and then he'll jump away. I'll say, get your ass back over here. I got Attraction. I'll hit him maybe once or twice and there he goes again. And he's trying to shock me because now he says, oh, you already used your pull. Well, now I'm gonna use my heroic might. Um, heroic Heroic might, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna use my heroic might, and that's gonna increase the radius, and then I freaking throw him. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to dash towards him, but it's a working progress. But when it comes to saber duels, Anakin freaking can take on um, Lord Vader. I've seen it happen multiple times, even me. As a really good Lord Vader I am, sometimes I get bested by an Anakin and I'm like saying, shit, he parried me. And when I see these parries happening, I just back off. It allows me to break out of that parrying to where I don't get damaged now and I get to block again. But when that parrying happens, one way or the other, if your enemy knows how you're gonna freaking parry and he knows how to parry, you're both gonna damage each other and the block is not gonna be existent if you parry right at the exact same time. It's crazy, it's funny, and you both die at the same time, but if you see him parrying you, you know, as you're parrying him, I suggest just backing off, and it takes 2 dashes to back off for Anakin. Um, and so that these cards for freaking GA is perfectly fine in my eyes, but sometimes a little extra raw power wouldn't hurt, you know, and some people prefer their radius to be large because maybe a lot of the case scenarios, the troopers themselves usually go down, which is the regular heroic might, but maybe you want it just to be larger, so that'll definitely be your protector, but I would never use this for HvV. Um, Now, if you're still wanting to learn how to parry, um, I would suggest you get rid of the attraction card, don't use it, and use his Tenacious with Massive Strikes and Steamroll, and all you have to do is just practice parrying your enemy until they die. So that's Anakin. BB-8, cheapest, dirtiest hero I've ever seen in the game. He's OP, yeah, he's strong. All you need, to be honest with you, if you just want to kill your enemies, do self-repair, shield roll, and whirlwind. You'll just annihilate in GA, capital supremacy, and even freaking um HvV. There's no changes as of right now, so those are the 3-star cards. Just use because that's just gonna freaking piss off a lot of people. and they're just gonna die either way. The radius of this thing's freaking massive, and it's disgusting in a kind of way, but still fun as hell to use when you are successful. Um, oh, I did forget to mention, this obviously you take less damage when you are getting hit, but let's say a Lord Vader's like on your ass, try and hit him with the headbutt. Um, and try and just, just use the dash to get away if you're not comfortable fighting a Vader. I 1v1'd a Vader with, obviously my droid, and this Vader who did know what the hell he was doing. He was smart, and I was just lucky to kill him, but, due to the amount of resistance I have, and due to his enrage, if I see him in rage, I get out of this whirlwind and I dash backwards, and I'll just freaking hit him with my head and freaking go on trying to run for my life until he's out of that enrage. If he's not using his enrage, you headbutt him, use that whirlwind, it's gonna freaking hurt his health so fast. Um, and last and not least is BB9. Um, he's just all I've seen is him as just a villain that knows how to stun. All you have to do is just spam R2 to stun your enemy. Use this ability to the smoke ability. You can't get hit. Obviously, when this ability is activated and you have all this smoke screen, you just can't get hit by a freaking saber unless they're lucky. The lock on is no lock on at all when you have the smoke ability activated. Um, and, spin around. That's just to push enemies. I've used the spin around and it's just to knock enemies off the edge. However, when you do use this ability, it also disables everyone's weapons. So that's pretty nice to have, to disable enemies' weapons and to twirl around and kill whatever you can as fast as you can. But if you're in HvV, don't just sit there and twirl forever and a day. If that freaking villain's getting back on you, or hero is getting back on his feet, get out of that spin ability. Don't just sit there. Get out of it, move along as fast as you can, and try and help a villain. Um, Try and help a villain out by sneaking up behind them, the heroes, and stun the heroes. But that's all I gotta say about this. Hopefully this video has been helpful and has given you a lot more insight on what you need. But as of right now, this is all I know when it comes to star cards for HvV and GA. But if you have any more information about these star cards and what's better for any of these heroes, please notify me. I would greatly appreciate it. That way I can instruct the GAR in the proper direction, or the community in the proper direction. That way we can have a proper HvV match and proper Capital Supremacy and GA match. Alright, thank you for watching.